Welcome back to Classic Gaming Quarterly TV, where today we're going to try something new. I have a pretty nice collection of old video game magazines and books, and I thought it would be cool if we checked them out together. So today we're taking a look at Nintendo Fun Club News number 7. And this is a noteworthy issue because it's actually the very last issue of the Nintendo Fun Club News before Nintendo Power came out. And just to give a little frame of reference, this is the June-July of 1988 issue. So this is before Nintendo had really hit its absolute peak of popularity. And by this time, games like Castlevania, Metroid, and the first Mega Man have come out, but Super Mario Bros. 2 and 3 and Zelda 2 were not out yet. Tecmo Bowl was also not out yet. So that just gives you an idea of where this magazine, or whatever you want to call it, falls in the lifespan of the NES. So let's take a look. You see the cover story is Sports Wrap Up 88, and you got a guy there wearing a little bit of everything. The first thing you might notice when you open this is that it has advertisements in it. And maybe to some of you that doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you read Nintendo Power back in the day, then you'll know that Nintendo Power for a very long time did not have advertisements in it. So this issue was basically the last time you were going to see advertisements in a Nintendo published publication for quite some time. And here you can see the advertisement is for the first Ninja Turtles game, which also had not yet come out. And then there was a little opening column by Howard Phillips, who was the Fun Club president and was like the Nintendo game master and was a kind of a jack of all trades for during the time that he worked at Nintendo, which was quite some time. There's some tips here on the second page for Metroid masters, and some of them seem pretty obvious to me, like getting into a ball and then using a bunch of bombs to propel yourself upward. But maybe when you're 10, that doesn't seem so obvious. Over here you can see there's an ad for the first Tecmo Bowl game. It's like I said, it hadn't come out yet. You see it says coming in September of 88. And right above it is another Tecmo ad for Tecmo Baseball, which certainly was not nearly as popular as Tecmo Bowl ended up being. Tecmo Bowl was already out in the arcades when this came out. This like font or whatever, the logo style here looks more like the arcade game, but it actually looks nothing like the Nintendo cartridge or Nintendo label art. So it looks a little bit odd, looking back on it now, but it actually looks pretty cool, I think. So here's some stuff that you could buy from them. This is the official Nintendo Player's Guide, which is a great book and was really popular back then. You have to remember that back in 1988 there was no internet, and so it wasn't so easy to get information about a lot of games. And what the Nintendo Player's Guide was basically an encyclopedia of all of the games and peripherals that were out up to the time that it was published. And this is the kind of thing you could pick up like at Toys R Us or anywhere. It had a cover price in 1995, and they're telling you here that you can get it for $12, which is a good deal. I'm pretty sure this guide goes for a lot more now, which is kind of a shame because I'm sure they printed, 1,000,000 or more copies of it. And you can see down here they're actually selling back issues of the Nintendo Fun Club News, which I think is kind of funny because this was actually a free publication. I don't have one to show you, but the way you would get this is that you'd buy a Nintendo or you'd buy a Nintendo game, and it would come with this reply card. So it's kind of like a warranty card, and you'd send it in, and that would basically put you on the mailing list to start receiving the Nintendo Fun Club News. But it was free, and so I think it's kind of funny that they want $2.50 per issue for back issues. But I think that includes based on I don't see any shipping charges over here, so hopefully that at least includes shipping. And then it also comes, or not comes with it, but you can buy sort of this little half-sized Legend of Zelda guide, and they also have one for Super Mario Brothers. Here you have a Taito ad. It's kind of funny, test your smoke detectors because it's going to get hot in here, or whatever. And I actually had elevator action. I got elevator action when it came out, and it's okay. But I remember being pretty disappointed when I got it. I had really bad luck buying Nintendo games when I was a kid because, for those of you around back in the day, like anytime you'd go to the store, none of the actual good like A-list games were ever in stock, and so you were always picking from stuff like this. And elevator action just looked kind of cool based on the box art, and I bought it. And it's fun and everything, but you can't really sink your teeth into it like you could a game like Legend of Zelda. And of course, there's Bubble Bobble coming soon. Love that game. So here they've got a write-up. They call it a review. It's not really a review. It goes through Wizards and Warriors, which is Not the greatest game in the world. I always liked it, um, but it's not. It's not like an A-list game like I mentioned earlier. But it is a pretty fun game, and really, it's more. It has like little tips and tricks on how to do stuff. It's really not a review in like a journalistic review kind of sense, but it was pretty fun. Just more advertisements. This one's for LJN. They did a lot of licensed games. You can see like Karate Kid, Jaws, NFL football, and there's Town and Country Surf Designs, which I reviewed that game. I think that was my first or second ever video review. You'll notice that there's really nothing on here that anybody would consider a great game. LJN was not really known for making quality games, and so they're not really looked back on fondly now. And over here we got a sneak peek section, which is kind of like a preview. You can see over here they even say like the new Nintendo Power feature, Pack Watch, because that's what this sort of section was called in Nintendo Power, and that's when they would start giving you like leaking out little tidbits of information about games that everybody was looking forward to. And so here they're talking about Super Mario Brothers 2 and showing a couple little screenshots, and then hey, where's Link? And it's saying, oh, Zelda 2: The Adventures of Link it'll be out someday. I believe it came out that Christmas. If I remember correctly, I think Zelda 2 was on shelves in Christmas of '88, but I could be wrong. And then you got a little Capcom ad here for 1943, which was much better than 1942. Here's some more tips and tricks. See, Kid Icarus was already out by then. I think I already mentioned that Metroid was out already. And then Zelda, of course. Zelda came out in '87, middle of '87, I think. And then, so here's a nice big full-size Konami ad, and you can see what games were coming out. Life Force, that was an excellent game, sort of a follow-up to Gradius. Blades of Steel, everybody loves. Adventures of Bayou Billy has kind of been forgotten by people. I always thought that game was kind of cool because you used both the controller and the zapper gun optionally. Like if you didn't have a zapper, you didn't have to buy one, but it was a lot more fun if you had one. And then, of course, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, sort of famous for disappointing a lot of people because it kind of deviated from the formula. And then Track and Field 2, button masher, but still pretty fun. And then here you can see like this. So this is the exact middle. So this is like the centerfold or whatever you want to call it of this issue. And you see this big ad for Nintendo Power, and they got the subscription card already. And then you can also cut this out. I guess so your friend could subscribe too. And they're offering an introductory rate only $15 for a year. And when Nintendo Power first came out, and for several years, I think it was only a bi-monthly magazine, so you're paying $15 for 6 issues. And it's kind of funny if you see that the cover price for Nintendo Power is $3.50, so that would be $21 per year. But if you subscribe, you get it for only $15, so you're really only saving $6. And I don't know how it was specifically with Nintendo Power, but I know that with a lot of magazines back then, if you subscribed, you got the magazine about a week later than when it showed up on the newsstand. And back then, magazines were your primary source of gaming information. So I know people who didn't want to have to wait that extra week because they wanted their info, and so they had no problem going ahead and just paying the cover price every month. So, and you see, you even got a free Nintendo Insiders calendar if you subscribed. I don't think I've ever seen one of those, so that's kind of cool. Here starts the '88 sports wrap up, and this is kind of funny. You've got all these. I guess these are probably Nintendo game counselors that are each picking a game to talk about, and this guy's looking all cool, like looking over his sunglasses at you, and Tim Kiley there almost looks like he's wearing a Michael Jackson red leather jacket, but it's not. It's just a red shirt. But anyway, so they're all going over these games that they like, and really this was a Nintendo publication, so the whole point of it was to sell you video games. So and then some contest. This was kind of cool. Contest winners. It says Tyson's Tips. And people actually won a life-size cutout of Mike Tyson. That's kind of terrifying, but that'd be kind of cool to have. I wonder if there's any of those still floating around. And then here's a double game ad for SNK, Lee Trevino's Fighting Golf. Actually, not a bad golf game at all. Not great, but not bad. Has cool graphics and Iron Tank there. This is, of course, pre-Neo Geo SNK. More game. Pro wrestling. Everybody loves pro wrestling. RC Pro Am, of course, I already reviewed. Ice hockey was probably every bit as popular as Blades of Steel. Maybe a little bit more arcadey, but definitely a lot of fun. And then over here you've got this full page ad for Data East. Not really any noteworthy games on here. Karnov was all right. Kid Niki Radical Ninja was okay, but again, there's really no games on here that the NES in retrospect is famous for. But that's definitely a cool looking ad, I think. That'd be a cool job back in the day, I think, being an artist that would draw that kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that we would sit in class in elementary school and draw, but obviously it wouldn't be anywhere near as good. Here's top 5 favorite games. So this gave people, readers of this, the opportunity to send in a card and rank their top 5 games, and you can see they would give 5 points to first place, 4 points to second place for every single card that somebody sent in, and in doing so, this was like the top 5 most favored games of the readership as a whole. You can see number 1 is Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which I have no problem believing that, because I remember back then that everybody had that game and it was extremely popular. And of course, Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Brothers, Metroid, and Kid Icarus. One thing you'll notice that is that all 5 of these games are first-party games, and you could see that as being a little bit suspicious. Well, this is a Nintendo magazine, and why are they all first-party games? But really, at this point, third-party publishers really hadn't gotten their stuff together to the point that I would expect to see a lot of third-party games on here. I'm kind of surprised I don't see Castlevania on here, but like the first Mega Man wasn't really a huge hit that Mega Man 2 was. So not at all surprised to see all these first-party titles. And then here's a Bandai or Bandai ad. ZVS, Galaga. I don't remember even Zeta Gundam or Mega. I don't know if either those didn't come out or they came out and they just stayed off my radar. That's actually a really good port, or I guess not a port, but or whatever version of Galaga for Nintendo. That was really fun if you like Galaga in the arcade. And ZVS I never had. I had a friend that had it. I hated it. Galaga's so much better, but it's an early shoot 'em up, and it doesn't do much for me. Over here you've got a full page ad for Bases Loaded. In an earlier episode, I did a review of Operation Logic Bomb, and I didn't know how to pronounce the name of this company, and I've just found out. I think in the review I said it was either Jaleco, Jaleco, or Jailco, and it turns out that it's none of the three. It's Jalico. So learn something new every day, right? Bases Loaded was pretty cool when it came out. My best friend's older brother was basically a dedicated sports gamer. And so, each Christmas and birthday, they would both get games, and all he ever wanted was sports games. And I remember when he got Bases Loaded, he was playing it like nonstop. It was pretty unique in that it had this sort of TV style presentation, like this behind the picture presentation. And the only other game I can remember from back then that had that was Hardball, but that was on a computer, like Apple II and a Commodore 64, and I think Amiga, I'm not sure. But that was the first console game that I personally ever saw that kind of presentation on. So I'm not sure if there were others that I just don't know about. And then, hey, you can get some free Wilson Sports posters. And then here they are advertising for Robo Warrior and Racket Attack. Again, really just forgettable games. And I mean, Bases Loaded, I guess, would be forgettable in the sense that nobody younger who is getting into the NES now would want to play that. But as somebody that played it back in the day, Bases Loaded was very popular. Here you have Power Player Profiles, and these are basically just kids that either had somebody write in for them or they wrote in just so they could, explain why they were power players. Here, dear Nintendo, Steve Bell is our best player because he finishes games like Legend of Zelda, Metroid, Kid Icarus fast. His tips on Zelda are to collect all the hearts and weapons you can find. Yeah, that's a great tip there, Steve. He says timing is everything, and Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Yeah, well, no kidding, but he's probably only 10 years old, so just to get your name in a magazine like that is pretty cool. And this kid looks a little bit douchey just looking at him, and he says, "Dear Nintendo, howdy! I saved the princess in Super Mario Brothers in 1 week. I beat Mr. X in 3 days flat, and I've played through Rygar, Mach Rider, Zelda, Metroid, Commando, Elevator Action, Stinger, and Mike Tyson cringes when he sees me coming." Yeah, I bet he was real fun on the playground. Anyway, I'm not going to read all of them, but whatever. And over here, they continued this in Nintendo Power too. So these scores of fun. People could just sort of send in, high scores or say that they beat the game. So here's a bunch of people that wrote in to say that they beat Legend of Zelda. A bunch of people wrote in to say that they were able to beat Mike Tyson. And then a bunch of people here wrote in to say that they basically maxed out the score in Super Mario Brothers, which really isn't difficult to do because there's just areas where you can point press. And over here you've got an ad for Vic Tokai. I don't remember Chesterfield. I don't remember that game. Terra Cresta, or does that say Terra Presta? I thought it was. Yeah, see, it says Terra Cresta here, but that says Terra Presta. I don't know. I don't get it. But That game I remember, but I didn't ever play it, but I know of its existence. Chesterfield I've never heard of, and it makes me wonder if it didn't have its name changed before it came out, or it's just a game I've never heard of. And then of course Golgo 13, not the greatest game in the world, but certainly everybody knew about it back then. It was maybe a little bit more of an adultish themed game back then. Here we go, Rambo. So this is an Acclaim ad. Uh, Advertising here, they got Airwolf and WWF Wrestling, but then of course the big draw there is Rambo, and then over here is a Sunsoft ad. That kid's got a pretty sweet setup there, I gotta say. And that's advertising Xenophobe, Freedom Force, Blaster Master, and Spy Hunter. Spy Hunter, my friend had Spy Hunter back in the day, and people say that the Nintendo port's not very good, and that might be true, but that was one of my favorite arcade games, and so just to be able to play it at home was pretty awesome. And I think we're on the last page now. This is pretty sweet. There's a crossword puzzle in here that has never even been filled out, which makes me want to do it, but I won't. And it says that here's a challenging crossword from Jeffrey Snyder from Miami, Florida. So I guess a reader actually made this crossword puzzle and sent it in. So that's pretty cool. But it's all just Super Mario themed, so it's pretty simple. But it would be cool. And then here's a little quarter page ad from Capcom for Legendary Wings. That was a pretty cool sort of mythological themed shooter, I guess you'd call it. I'm not really sure. And then here you've got an Activision ad for Predator and Zombie Master, and then here's Super Pitfall. I had Super Pitfall when it came out, and this game is so horrible. I got this because I remembered really liking Pitfall on the Atari 2600, and so when Super Pitfall came out, and the screenshots do look good, I was like, oh, I should get that. And so, and of course, again, I was at Toys R Us, and all the actual good games were not there, and so you're sort of picking over what's left. And so I grabbed Super Pitfall, and the game is just so buggy and terrible, and it's kind of a shame because it doesn't have to be. It seems like a lot of work was put into that game, but they just didn't do proper play testing, and it just totally ruined the game, which is a real shame. And then back cover, what do we have? Another ad for Nintendo Power, something else you can cut out and send in. So they were really trying to sell people on Nintendo Power. And in fact, anybody who was on the mailing list that got Nintendo Fun Club news was sent for free the first copy of Nintendo Power. So that came out, I think August, September of '88. It was right after this, and they were all sent a free issue of Nintendo Power, and then that was sort of your last chance. Like, you can either subscribe to this, or we're not going to be sending you publications anymore. And I actually read that 30% of the people that received that magazine immediately subscribed. So that's pretty impressive, actually. So that's going to do it for the first episode of Let's Read. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please leave some feedback and let me know. This is just like an idea that I had, and if it's stupid, I don't need to do it, but I thought it'd be kind of a fun thing to do, to upload these videos in between my retrospective videos, because those take a very long time to make. So I can't upload very often if I just do retrospective videos. But this is kind of a quick thing to do that I think is really fun. And like I said, I have a lot of magazines, so it's fun to go back through and read them. And so I hope to keep doing more of these. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys next time.